Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 6 of our Salesforce platform developer training. And tonight, we're going to be looking into DML statements. So my understanding is by now, everyone should be comfortable with looping through data collection, be able to declare a variable, be able to manipulate a list, a set, a map, also be able to carry out control statements, while loop, do while, for each, and the likes. Okay. So tonight we're going to be going through the DML and be looking into a simple case study on how this would translate into a real project. Okay. So for the benefit of those that I hope this is not your first day, but to get into our learning console, I will go to developer console. I will open this in a new window. Okay. And we can start the DML statement. So what are DMLs in Salesforce? DMLs are data manipulation language, which you probably already know. So what do you understand by data manipulation language? This is the CRUD. Okay. Obviously, the CRUD is create, read, update, delete. However, so far, we've been doing read. When you use a select statement, you're literally retrieving records from the system. Okay. So create, update, and delete. That is the data manipulation. So when you're manipulating data, you're essentially communicating with the database. You want to retrieve whatever record you have in a particular object. You want to manipulate that record, meaning that you want to transform, you want to change, you want to convert, you want to check. Okay, that's the logical side of things. And after that, you want to update, you want to delete, you want to create, you want to persist your changes, because anytime you do something here, 2 times 2 equals 4. Yes, it's equals to 4, but if you don't save this, that's the end of your operation. Okay, that's the end of your operation. You need to save it into the database for it to persist. And next time you want to retrieve what 2 times 2 is, you can easily retrieve it by just looking into your last saved records. Okay, so now, before we start DML, it's very important to understand what kind of issues you can face when working with data. So far, we know that if we query an account, please just mute yourself, okay? You don't have to speak. If we query an account, we're going to get a list of an account, okay? We're going to get a list of an account, but let's quickly just write this out. Okay, you guys should get familiar with this syntax right now, okay? So if we have this and we query an account, which is select ID name from the account objects, we're going to have the account present in the system, which is this, okay? But before you start manipulating, there are things you need to do. Anytime you query a record, by standard, the expectations is you should get something, but not in all cases you will get a response. Not in all cases you would get a response from this select statement. What does that mean? It means that if I query this and there are no records, and I go about saying for accounts in ACC do something, I will get an error. I'll get an error because this doesn't have any records. So look at what we have right now. Let me just run this. Okay, let me run this. Okay, that went through, which is fine, right? It went through and that's fine. We have an account, okay? But let's put a where clause. Something we know that something obviously doesn't exist, right? And now let's run this. Okay, the account present is 0, which is fine. So if we have this and we try to say ac.name equals manipulate something. Okay, we manipulate something. It's okay, missing. System, yeah. We still don't have any record, right? So if you want to loop through this and you want to do stuff, you will be computing certain things which does not have any record in here. And if you even want to go further by saying you have this and you have this, okay? If you want to go further by saying, okay, I want to get the first element of this list, you are going to be querying you are going to be getting the first element of something that does not exist. Okay, so before you get or start manipulating things, you need to check if the item exists or not. Because if you are trying to manipulate stuff where the item does not exist, then you will be having issues with your query. Okay, you'll be having issues with your manipulation. So anytime you want to manipulate the results from your query, the first thing you need to do is you need to check. You need to check if that query exists in the system. Okay, you need to check if this query exists in the system, then you can now manipulate that query. Because if you try to manipulate this query, or you want to, okay, I want to get system does debug, I want to get this in this, you are literally saying, give me the first element of nothing. And if you're saying, give me the first element of nothing, what would you get? You will get an error, okay? You will get an error because this does not have a response. If you check the size of this, okay? You get the list is out of bounds, okay? On line 9. This is line 9. The list is out of bound. And if you check the size of this, let me comment this. You will see that the size is 0. Because the size is 0, meaning that there's nothing inside, then you cannot do something like this. So you cannot do something like this because there is nothing in here. So best practice when you are running query, and you want to use the results from the query, the best practice is for you to check if the query actually gave you something that you can use. Okay? If the query does not give you something, then you don't need to stress out the computer. You don't need to stress out the operation. You don't need to do this. You don't need to look through something that does not exist. Okay? So whenever you run a select query from today, always put a check. If you have to use that, if acc.size, okay, is greater than 0. If the acc.size is greater than 0, then do your for loop. If it is not, then do not even go further. Do not even try to do a for loop. Just stop. Else. System.debug. We have no records present. So anytime you run select query from today, always check if there is a record present in your query. That's one way to check if there is a record present in your query. The other way to check if there is a record present in your query is to use its empty statement. It's empty is the same thing as checking if this is empty. Okay? But obviously, you want to put a negative sign here to say, if this is not empty, then do something. Okay? So you don't want it to be, you don't want this to run if the ACC is empty. Okay? This one, you said if acc.size is greater than 0, that means there is a record present, then do something. For it's empty, you want to put a negative exclamation mark, which signifies a negative check. If this is not empty, do something. So the two things that you should know anytime, remember this, wherever you are, anytime you run a select query, you should check before you start manipulation. You can either use size or it's empty. If you do not do that, you would think everything is fine until you deploy your code into production or you deploy your code in an application that has no record when you query. So it might work for you right now if you are developing, but in future, this might break your code and they would start questioning your code. Okay? So please, anytime you run the query for any object, always check whether the size is greater than 0 or the response is not empty before you start your manipulation. Okay? That's the first thing first whenever you want to run a DML. It's very important. DML means you want to manipulate something. But can you manipulate something that does not exist? No. Okay? So you want to always check that. Now let's go into the first DML. The first DML is insert. Insert is similar or equivalent of create. I want to create a new record. This is the account list. Okay? I want to create a new record on the account list. How do I do that? The first thing first, what do I need to do? I need to initialize. Okay? I need to initialize an account. Okay? I'll just call it new account. New account. Remember, I don't need to always have a list. This is a list, right? A list is collection. I don't need to always have a list. I can just initialize like this. It's also a new account initialization. The only difference is I can only store one record inside this, okay? I can only store one record inside this, whereas for this, I can store as many records. That's the difference between a list initialization and a single initialization. So now, what are the fields present in an account object? If I want to create an account object, these fields are present for me to use. The account name, number, owner, site, and the likes. So if I go to, I initialize this and I say, this instance of this account dot name, Blackforce, meaning that the account name should be Blackforce. New account dot whatever fields I'm interested in, account number should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. There is rating, okay? There is rating on accounts, which is this. Where's the rating? I go to fields to display. I go to rating. I know there is rating, okay? Dot rating equals hot. Okay? So as you can see, whatever you want to create, whatever you have here, you can insert it into the account instance. After you've finished, all you need to do is insert new account. Obviously, new account can be anything. Doesn't have to be new account. You can call it anything you want. Okay? So now, let's run this. And I insert. That is how you communicate with the system. You have created a new account. It is that straightforward. This is the basics of Apex. And now you've created a new account, but things will not be this straightforward at work. They'll ask you to create a bunch of accounts, or they'll ask you to check if an account exists before you create it, okay? So now, let's say they've asked you, find if Blackforce exists in the system. If Blackforce exists in the system, I want you to change it from Blackforce to Blackforce Inc. To do that, you need what they call the update statement. The update is like your CRUD. Obviously, the U side is synonymous to update, which is still the same thing. So we call this update, and what does it do? It checks for a record, look for the record instance, and updates the records. So now we have this. Okay, I'll just copy this again. And I'm going to call it account 2. Okay, select ID where name equals Blackforce. Now that you're selecting where name equals Blackforce, you would get a list. This is where you need to check. You will get a list. So if you say where name equals Blackforce, limit 1, it will give you one response. You still get a list. However, if you put 0 in front of it, it's going to get you the first records, meaning that account 2 will be similar to this instance. Okay? Account 2 will be similar to this instance instead of this instance. The reason why it's similar to this instance is because we were getting the first record that matches Blackforce. Okay, let's see that. Right now, we have account 2. What we need to do is to check. I want to check if is empty. If I don't check if it's empty, then I will be having issue. I will show you how that would work shortly. I check if it's not empty before I carry out my manipulation. Okay? It's very important. I'm saying this because you guys will face this at work. Okay? So now I say select where name is this. The response, I have two options. I can either say the first element of this query, I want to manipulate the name. Okay? Then I update account 2. So what I've just done is I've looked for the account where the name is Blackforce. I grab the first element. I grab the name of the first element. I change it to Blackforce Inc. Then I update. Okay? Alternatively, you can just get it from here by just saying 0. Okay? You have different options on how you can do this. More importantly, you just need to know what you're doing. Okay? What you're doing will determine how you want to manipulate things. So going back to the accounts, you've changed from Blackforce to Blackforce Inc. Okay? So what if we do not have a name that is Blackforce? Okay? What if we do not have a name that is Blackforce? I told you, if I had done this without the check, okay, this is without the check. I run this again. List index out of bound, meaning it's telling me the list is out of bound, so I cannot rename something that does not exist. Okay? Have that at the back of your mind. Now that we've seen how to update based on a simple query like this, if I had to run this query again, because I've already updated where Blackforce equals Blackforce Inc. If I run this query again, nothing would happen. Okay? Always check the response in the logs. It says one query was executed, but the number of DML statements is 0, meaning there is no data manipulation language statement that took place. Okay? If I do Inc., I change it back to Blackforce. Okay? I want to change it back to Blackforce. And I run this, check the logs. Okay? Scroll down. It says one query was made. One rows was one number of query rows was 1. That means we found a result that matches the query. Okay? More importantly, the DML statement 1 was carried out. Now, this is where it gets interesting. When you're working with data, it's important you know about governor limits. Governor limits are crucial because it helps you to stay within your Salesforce resource boundaries. For instance, if you had to query this and we have 1,000 records coming out of this, you will be running over 150 DML statements. You only have 150 per transaction. As you can see, this is the limit. But if you have 1,000 records coming out of this, it means you will update 1,000 times. You will update 1,000 times. And this is where the concept of governor limits comes into play. Anytime you want to update a record that is likely to be more than the required limits you can do at a time, Salesforce recommends you put or you bulkify your insert statements. What does that mean? Let's see an example of this. I want to select all accounts in the system. Okay? I want to select all accounts in the system. All accounts that are hot. Okay? And the rating should be hot. Okay? So if I grab the size, system.debug size, okay? Okay, let's quickly find all hot accounts. Make sure that you okay, we have 4, which obviously it's not, significant. However, it's good for our practice. Okay, so we have 4 as size. Let me copy this and put it here. So I'm saying all accounts that are hot, if it's not empty, okay, I want to change, not even that, I want to change all the values. Okay, not just one. I want to change all the values. So I need to run a for loops, right? I need to run a for loop that changes all the value for accounts, okay, in all accounts that are hot. I want to update the name to hot 1, or 2, or 3, okay? Or not even that. I can just say acc.name equals, no, let's change the rating so you can see it. Rating equals 1. So I am changing the rating of all accounts that is hot, that are hot, and I am updating it as I am changing it. Okay? If I run this, okay, let's look at the DML statements. Number of queries, 1. Number of SOKL queries, 1. Number, let me just make sure that this is a bit zoom out so you guys can see what I'm talking about, okay? Number of SOQL queries, 1. Number of query rows, 4. That means 4 results came out from expected 50,000 limits. That's fine. Number of DML statements, 4 out of 1,000, out of 150. However, if you decide to say, instead of updating immediately after you run the for loop, how about we create a list of accounts to update, which is new list of accounts. Okay, so instead of updating immediately, I wouldn't do that. I will add it to a new list, which I have just created. Okay, this is a new list I have just created. After I have run all the for loops, everything is fine, then I can just update the list. Okay, so I'll change it to warm and turn this to hot. Okay, I run this. I want you to pay attention to what is happening here. Okay, the DML statement has changed from 4 to 1, meaning that we carried out the same transaction, the same implementation, but with just a different strategy. We have minimized the number of DML statements. This is how to ensure you do not go over the governor limits. In addition to that, instead of querying out what you want, it is better to put this query directly inside your for loop. What that means is you do not need to query this, don't need this, you don't need this, and you don't need this. So the only for loop you have to write is this one, which minimizes the number of transactions. It's very important to know how to update a code. Updating the code would ensure that you do not have limit, you do not have random queries, you do not have it. So let me change this so we can have records, okay? I'll call this odds, then I'll call this one. Okay? As you can see, we still have just one, but the number of memory allocated for that transaction reduces drastically as a result of the optimization of the code. So remember, as a beginner, it is okay to do this and put the if check and everything. But once you get advanced into programming, then you might probably want to optimize your code for little or lower number of lines, because the more lines you have, the more engaging or the more memory allocation you're going to be given for every transaction. Because anytime you query and you store into this variable, you have used a memory from your computer. So with this, you minimize the amount of memory you need to use, okay? You do not need to be a master of this. However, one thing for sure is do not update in a for loop. Always create a new list and add to that list whatever you are iterating and update outside of your list, okay? That is the requirement from Salesforce, and you're expected to know this. They can ask you in an interview, are you checking the response from the list? And are you updating in the for loop or outside of the for loop? Okay, so now you've seen how to update a record in the system. Let's see how we can offset a record in a system. What is OPSAT? OPSAT is essentially updating a record as well as inserting a new record. So to better understand this, let's see an example. I have a list of accounts which I'm going to initiate as accounts to update or insert. New list. This might seem easy, but when you're given the task, I hope you're going to be thinking about this. The whole idea is for you to think about how to solve a problem. Okay? Now, I have another list of an account which exists in the system, which is equal to new. You know, sometimes you don't need to always do this, right? You can just pass the select statement inside the list. But, you know, I'm already used to just declaring and instantiating. So, but for you guys, you can just pass this select statement inside here. So you don't have to instantiate, okay? Select ID name from accounts where, let's look for something more different. I want to go with type. Where type equals this. Okay? I want to change this type to channel. Okay, so now I have this, but I want to change it to channel, okay? So what do I need to do? I run a for loop for accounts inside my selected accounts, okay? Updates, okay? The type to be equal to customer channel. Okay? Then, instead of updating immediately, I will store the new accounts inside a brand new list. Okay? Account to update is a brand new list that has no relationship with selected accounts. Now that I've done that, I still want to do something. Okay? I want to do something. I want to create a new account if the size of this is less than 10. Okay? If selected accounts dot size is less than 10, then I still want to create more accounts, okay, that has customer channel. Okay? So if you look at it right now, I run a filter and I say type equals customer channel, save. Okay? We only have 3 accounts that are customer channel. So that this statement will also run. Okay? If selected the size is less than 10, I want to create okay? I want to create new accounts. Maybe I want to create 10 accounts, okay? So I want to create 10 accounts. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Less than 7. So it's going to create 10, okay? I plus plus. Okay, so now I'm running a for loop. I'm running a for loop that will create a new account. What do I need to create a new account? I need to instantiate new account, okay? Equals new account. That means for every time the for loop runs, a new account will be instantiated and be created. Then new account dot name equals, I can call it anything random. Random name plus hi, okay? Just to make it interesting. So every time it's gonna create random name 1, random name 2, random name 3, random name 4 until it gets to 6, okay? Because it's I less than 7. So it's gonna stop at 6. More importantly, I want to create more customer channel, okay? More customer channel. Dot type equals customer channel. So what that means is that I've created a new account, random name. The new account type is customer channel. More importantly, again, I want to add it to my account to update or insert. Meaning that account to update is this. Account to update or to insert is this. Okay? New account, to make things easier, old account. So you can see clearly that this is an old account and this is a new account. I'm creating new accounts and I'm updating old accounts, but everything is being added to a list. So after everything, all I just need to call is upsat. Upsat this. Once you upsat this, it's going to check based on the ID of records in Salesforce. If there are no ID present, it's going to create a new account. If there are ID present, it's going to update new account. So let's run this. If I refresh this and I run the filter, you will see that we've created more records. Random 0, random 1, random 2, random 3 till 6. Okay? So this is how you upsat. It will create and it will update. Okay? It will create new accounts and it will update existing accounts. But more importantly, you do not do any DML. Do not carry out DML inside a for loop. Okay? Do not do your DML here. Do not do your DML here. Create a new list. Add whatever you're doing into that list. Add whatever you're doing into that list. And at the end of your operation or manipulation, do your DML outside. This is Salesforce governor limits. And it's very important you get this, okay? So now that you've seen that, when you want to create or you want to update, chances that you might get error. I've told you, you can use is empty to check for your error, to check for the list. And you can also use size to check for the list. But there is more to that. Even though you've done the check, chances are things can still fail. Chances are things can still fail. So what you need to do in programming as a developer is to ensure that nothing fails when you code. So how do you do that? You use what they call the try and catch. Accounts, I'm giving you things that will make you become a good programmer, because everything is online, but you need to make sense out of the information you have online. And that's why you're here. Okay, so now you have accounts. You want to update a record. You have done if it's not empty. Which obviously ensures that you are not updating an empty list. The second thing you want to do is you want to try and catch. I don't think try as this thing. You want to try and you want to catch. So if you do not want to do this, you don't want to do double check, you can just catch whatever it is. Do you get what I mean? You can catch whatever it is. So a catch always have a message, like the exception, which you're collecting. For DML, it's called the DML exception, which means the type of this E, you need to specify it, and it is DML exception type. So what does that mean? It means if I try to query accounts where name equals manifest, okay? And I'm trying to debug system.debug what is the first element, okay? And it's going to give me an error. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not put the first element. Okay, put the first element and let's see. It says list out of bound, fine. But let's put it here. Okay, try means I am checking or I am doing something. I am doing something. However, if this stuff fails, if there is an error, if the computer refuses what I have done, show me what the message is. This is where you debug your message. Error message. And the computer will tell you what your error is. Okay, let's run it again. Number 9 is still, oh yeah, this one is just directly making something. So let me see, I want to see a particular instance for this. Give me 1 minute. Let me simulate a try that failed, and we can just catch it. So let's say we have accounts, and I want to account.size plus, I just want to try this, okay? Let's try this, which is adding a number to a test, okay? Let's see. Expression cannot be a statement. System debug. I'm not sure if this will fail. Oh, it's adding it. Let me simulate a try catch error simulate Salesforce. Okay, yeah, let's use this. When you're creating a new lead, so let's turn this into lead. And let's turn this into, don't let us worry about, let's turn this into, don't let us worry about, don't let us worry about this. Alternatively, we can actually, don't let us worry about this. Let's say we're doing something and we want to insert a new lead into the system. Okay? We have this new lead. And dot name equals manifest, which is fine. But I'll show you how we can simulate that. So we have this, execute highlighted. Lead name is not writable. Let's say email. And we can first name. And we can have email, okay? At platforce.ca. Okay? This has gone through, but there's a problem. We need to see the problem. Let me check the lead. The lead is not being created. Okay? The reason why the lead is not being created is because when you're creating a new lead, you need to have the company present. Okay? But the company is not passed through, hence, and even the last name wasn't passed through. So let me see this. Execute. I want to read through the code. Last name manifest. No DML, okay? But it's not giving me the error. Let me see this. Insert. I want to simulate the error. Okay. One of the reasons why it's not showing us the error is because we did not do anything. We created the lead, but we did not do anything. Okay. So we need to insert the new lead. Okay. So now let's see. It says error message, insert field, first exception on row 0, required field missing, company. So you might not get the error message the way we had out of bound, list out of bound. Okay? It will just seamlessly go through, but your code will not work. Why? Because for you to insert a new lead, you need to have the company present. You need to have the last name and the company. However, because you have wrapped this code in a try and catch, in your log, it is going to store this in your log. It's going to display this in your log. So if you do not have the lead created, all you need to go to and read your log, see why the lead was not created. But the good thing is that it's not stopping you from carrying on. It is not stopping you from continuing your coding. Let's imagine we did not put it in try and catch. Let's see what's going to happen. I just select this. You're getting the error message immediately. You're getting the error message immediately. It's not even running. Okay? The difference is, first of all, you have your try and catch, and it is making sure that your code works regardless. So it's going to go to the next line. You know, code is about line 1, line 2, you know, line 3. That's how code works. The code will be going through different lines and be executing what you've done. However, if there is an error in your code, it will stop or abort the operation. It will abort the operation. But if you wrap your code in a try and catch, your operation will not be aborted. Your operation will say, okay, I cannot insert this lead because I need a last name. However, I'm going to go to the catch and put it here. Then I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on. Okay, so try to understand that for you to write better code, you need to make sure that you're handling all the areas that you can possibly have errors. That is DML, because DML is communicating with the database. Database will reject anything you send that is not clean. It will reject anything you send to it that is not processed. If you manipulate something and the manipulation is wrong, then the database would reject your manipulation. And you should try to use try and catch if you are working with DML statements. Now let's go to the other CRUD operation, which is delete. What is delete? Delete is for you to delete a record. It's just as simple as that. Let's go to our account objects. And I want to delete a record where the name is Blackforce. All I need to do is records, accounts to be deleted. Okay, and make sure that you put it in a try and catch, okay? Because you are carrying out a DML statement. And the type of exception is called a DML exception. So to delete, all you just need to do is delete whatever you have queried. So they can ask you at work, look for all instances where there is no account number in the system and delete that record because it's a bad record. This is how you would do it using query. You can use flow to do this as well, but this is how to do it using Apex, okay? So now let's just system.debug error message. I know it seems easy right now, but once I give you a project, you need to remember all this stuff because that's what I'm checking. I'm checking the way you're reasoning because your task at work will be this straightforward. However, for you to get that job, you need to be able to think, okay? So now, let's see the queries. It says, I found one record and I carried out one DML, okay? If you go back and refresh this, you realize Blackforce is gone. Let's try this again. Number of queries, 1, which is that. DML statement is 0, okay? And as you can see, there are no other actions or transactions carried out. When you're coding, always be mindful of this, because if you go over 150, then you will break your code. And if you break your code, every other thing you've done will no longer be executed, okay? So you've seen the delete, which is pretty much straightforward. But what if you want to undelete? You've deleted the black force right now. What if you want to undelete? The same way we've deleted, we can run what they call the undelete. For undelete, you need to specify all rows. All rows will look for data in the recycle bin. Okay? All rows will look for data in the recycle bin. Right now, if I refresh this, let's check our DML. Our DML says one record was carried, one transaction was carried out. If I refresh this, I have mistakenly deleted a record I shouldn't delete. Now, I want to, where is all accounts? Black Force. Okay, Black Force is now back. That is how you carry out a simple delete and undelete. There's so many other things you can do with DML. But for now, you need to understand how it works and how you can manipulate things. So I'm going to take a pause here to find out if you guys have any questions before I move on to something else. So it's still going to be along the same CRUD data manipulation, but more important things you need to know. Okay, so I'll take a pause here. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Let's quickly address them before we go into something else. Okay, 1 minute, please. Okay, it appears that what we've just learned is pretty much straightforward, which is a good thing. The same way, so let's go into something more, it is similar to what we're doing, but somewhat different. We have database.query. We have search.query, okay? Which is a string, right? That's for the finding and select statement. With DML, we have something that is called database.insert, database.update, database.upsert. As you can see, anytime you try to do something, it will give you the options and it will give you the type of data you can put into those options. For instance, with database.insert. It says you can insert a list of S objects. What is a list of S objects? A list of S objects is a list of Salesforce objects. List of accounts. Accounts equals select ID from accounts where name equals Blackforce. Okay? This is a list of accounts. So if you put this here, it will work because that's what it is expecting, a list of accounts. Okay? So now, why do we need database.insert? You need database.insert because not all operations, when you want to insert accounts like this after manipulation, if it fails, everything will roll back. Everything you want to do will roll back. For instance, for accounts in accounts. No, actually, let's use lead. Okay? Let's look for a lead that has a name or okay, which we know that there is definitely a record, right? Okay, so we try to insert leads, okay? Obviously, this is not how to, you have to limit it, okay? Or you can just kind of like create a new lead. Leads to insert. Always write a good code so you don't know when they might be reviewing your code, okay? So leads to insert. So I'm just saying, I want to change. What can I change? I can change the lead source. Okay, lead source or lead rating. I'm changing the lead rating to 1. Okay, I queried the lead to insert. After changing the lead rating, then I insert that lead. Okay, which is fine. However, if you are creating a new lead, this lead, if you haven't presented a company in the lead, is going to fail. And when it fails, it means that this insert operation will be rolled back. Okay? It will be rolled back. For instance, lead then you say lead dot last name, which is, and you try to insert lead. Okay? Obviously, we just tried this now, it failed, right? And if you put it into a try-catch, it will just give you the error. If you have a bunch of leads, this is the first lead, right? This is the second lead, this is the third lead, okay? Lead 3, lead 2, lead 1. Okay? This one, I know definitely It has a company called Manifest. This one has a company called Blackforce. And the last one doesn't have any company, okay? So you have 3 leads you want to insert into the database. Okay, lead 3, lead 2, and lead 1. When you're carrying out operation like this, whereby you know that you have a lot of data you've just created and you want to insert into the database, if you do this, and you do this, and you do this, this will fail because it doesn't have a company. Okay? It doesn't have a company. But instead of the system to insert this and leave this alone, it will not. It will roll back everything. It will roll back everything back to you. That means all your data manipulation or operation is gone. The use of database.insert would ensure that you only insert the ones that are successful, and it's going to roll back only the ones that is not successful. So for database.insert, you want to insert and put a condition, all or none, which is to insert everything or nothing, or to put false, meaning insert only the ones that are valid. So database.insert is very important when you are working with DML. So if you want to find out which of the records did not get inserted in the system, database.insert is a type of data called save results, meaning that it's a collection that gives you or returns a save results data type. And if you insert this, you can just call this results, okay, equals data type, meaning that this transaction, you store the results or the outcome of this transaction in this result. The good thing about storing this is you can now manipulate what is inside the results. You can manipulate it. You can find out which failed and which did not fail. Okay, let's quickly try this. It's telling me that list to insert is a list, and I'm only putting lead like that. So I just need to make it a list, okay? It's saying the required row is missing, which is valid on line 26. I'm going to comment it out, and I'm going to use this, okay? It went through. That is the difference between a database insert, and the normal insert. As you can see, the first one did not go through, but the second one went through. So now, the most important thing is results. Results. I told you, the outcome of this database.insert is stored in a result. And the data type of this transaction is database.save. So what does that mean? It means that I can debug and find out what is inside results, okay? So this is result. As you can see, it gives you get errors, get ID is success. Get ID, get errors is success. So you have a lot of information in your database.results. How do you look through this information? How do you decouple this information? How do you find out the get message? What is causing the error? As you can see, there's so many information in that structure, right? In that data structure. What you want to do is you want to find out the message, the reason why your lead is not inserted in the system. And how do you do that? You have to do a for loop. Remember, this is a list. And this list has success and failure. It has success and failure, as you can see. It says get errors. That means error is a method. Get ID is also a method in those records. Its success is true. That means get error is 0, get ID is this, its success is true. That's the first insert, okay? The second insert, get error is 0, meaning that it was true, it was successful. Get ID, the ID of the lead that was created, and get its success is true, okay? So the first two transactions, they were true, okay? Now, the last one, it says get errors. Oh, there is error. The error is get fields, company, get message, required fields are missing, get status code, required field missing. These are the things you're going to be using to code. This is what programming is all about. Knowing what you're looking for and putting a condition to manipulate the things you're looking for. Putting a condition based on the outcome of what you're getting. So now, for database, save results, which is to get just one record of results, because this is the data type, right? Just one record of database.save inside results. I want to loop. This is data structure. You're decoupling the results you get from this result. So I want to find out which of them is successful and which of them is not successful. So if results dot is success, do something. How do I know that this method exists? This method exists because get errors, get ID is success. It exists, okay? So if results dot if success is true, these are the data that successfully got inserted. Okay? So you don't want to, you want to find out the one that failed. Else, that means it's not true, right? Remember, in Boolean, if you're putting condition, Boolean, it means that if whatever is true, okay? That's what it means. So what I said here, if is success, is equivalent to if dot is success is true, okay? So these are the data that successfully got inserted. These are the data that did not get inserted. Okay? So now I want to find out the ID of the data that got inserted. What do I need to do? System.debug. Okay? Successfully inserted IDs, leads. What can I use to get it? Get error, get ID. Get ID, I can use it to get the ID. So, dot get ID, okay? For this one, what can I do? I can get the error message, why they did not go through. And how do you get the error message? Look for the get fields company, that's fine. Get errors, that's what you're looking for. You're looping through the get errors because the get errors is holding the reason why they did not go through. Get ID, as you can see, is null. Its success is false. But get errors has a lot of information. Again, destructure. The ability to destructure a data is what makes you a good programmer. So now, for what is the data type of get errors? Data type of get errors is database dot error. As you can see, this is database dot error. Database dot error. I want to get the error message. Error. Inside get errors. This is get errors because get error encompasses everything here. Okay? So try to understand data structure. Get error, which is results dot get error. Okay, errors. So what is inside that? I can get fields, I can get message, and I can get status code. Okay? So system.debug, get the fields for error. What else? System.debug. Get the status code for error. That means I want to know the status code. So what can I, error dot get status code, okay? What else? System.debug, get message, the message for errors, okay? Which is error dot get message. Okay? So I have gotten, this one is get fields. Where's the field? Get fields, okay? Error dot get fields. Okay? Once you know how to destructure, you have solved this. And if you go back, run this again. And you run this. Variable result does not exist. So where is result? This is results. This is results. This is results. Results. Okay. Results. Variable does not exist. Get errors. So let's look for get errors. Okay. Where did we use get errors? Get errors. You need to put it in this. Okay. That's the only way you can get something. Get status code. Let's make sure that we put everything in the right parentheses, okay? That's it. So we've seen how to insert leads in the system. And we've seen how to insert successful leads in the system. If it is successful, it's going to give you the IDs, which we debug in our log. If it is not successful, it's going to give you the field, okay, that is making it not successful, the reason, and it's going to tell you the message, okay? So please, always, if you can, try to use database.insert because it gives you a lot of things you can manipulate, a lot of things you can make, get information about why things are not working. Okay? I'm going to put a pause here to find out if this makes sense to you. If at all it doesn't make sense to you, you can understand what I am doing because I know you will still go through it and you'll get it. But you need to understand that this is just destructuring. I am trying to get information based on the structure of the data. Okay, so please indicate by raising your hand so I can call you if you feel this requires more explanation. Okay, please let me know so I can call before we move to our case study. Okay, since there are no questions, since all this makes sense, I believe, let's quickly look into a very simple case study for creating a lead in the system. So the case study is very simple. Create a method or develop a method that creates or updates a new lead into the system. Check for duplicate lead before carrying out an insert. If lead exists, using email, update the lead record. Otherwise, insert a new lead. Use not applicable for company if no company exists in the new lead, in the lead data. Do not roll back if any of the lead insert fails. Store failed lead records in the error log. This is what you're going to do at work. They will not break it down for you as like this. It will not be broken down like this. However, this is what you should be thinking about. Anytime you want to create a new data into the system, you want to check if duplicates exist in the system. If duplicate exists, you want to find out what should be done if there's a duplicate. And if there are no duplicates, then you want to insert. Okay? So let's quickly do this. I want to create a method. Okay? So I'm just going to go back to my developer. I'll create a new class, lead utility. And in lead utility, I'll make sure that I have okay. So the first thing first is you want to create public, static, okay? And you want to, do you want to return anything? Maybe not, void, okay? You want to create a method, create or update lead. And this method should do what? Should take a lead object, okay? Now that this method the method has been developed, that's it. So what do you need to do in that method? In that method, you need to collect a lead object. And after collecting the lead object, check for duplicate leads before carrying out an insert. How do you check for duplicate leads before carrying out an instance? List, lead, okay? Then list of lead equals, you run a query. You run a query, select ID from lead. What else? You want to put a where clause. A where clause. Remember, if lead exists using email, that means you want to put your where clause based on the email. So this lead object can just say string lead of email, lead email equals lead object dot email. Okay? So now that you've grabbed the lead email, you can just put the where clause where email, remember the binding variable, making sure that everything is all clean. Okay, so where email is this, you have just checked for duplicates. That statement is checking for duplicates. Now, remember what I told you. Anytime you run a query, before you do anything with your query, before you start manipulation, what do you need to do? Check, always check. Check if the list of lead is not empty. Once you've made a check, if the list is not empty, then you can do something. If it is empty, you can do something. So now, if you put an if here, what statements, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? So in this place, you are updating. In this place, you are inserting. So if you query a lead based on an email and the lead is not empty, that means the lead exists in the system. So all you need to do here is update. However, if you query the lead and this is empty, meaning that the lead does not exist in the system, then you insert. As you can see, it is very straightforward, but you need to be thinking. You need to be thinking. You need to be thinking, okay? So what do we do from here? From here, we need to just update the lead that we queried. How do we update it? What do you need to update a lead? What do you need to update a record? You need the ID. So if I have a lead object coming into this method, all I need to do is update the ID of what I have just queried out. Okay? Update the lead of what I have just queried out, meaning that the ID of this lead is now what I have queried out. Okay? That's the update. That's the update. And if it does not exist, that means you need to create a new lead, meaning that all you just need is the lead object, which of course it's coming in from here. Okay, so I have literally created a utility, but this else does not make sense if you don't. What is the thing that can break a lead? Last name and company. Last name and company. Okay? So an existing lead would always have a company and a last name. An existing lead would always have a company and a last name. But a new lead, chances are they might not have last name and company. So what do you want to do here? You want to check if this lead has a company. If the lead does not have a company, use not applicable for company if company name does not exist if no company name exists in the lead data. So you want to check, okay? You want to check lead objects dot company. As you can see, Salesforce is just giving us tips, okay? We want to check if lead objects has a company. How would you check that? How would you check that? It's empty, okay? You want to use is empty. Is empty. Okay? Just 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Check for string. Check for string. Check string apex. So if you want to check if something is empty as a string methods. So as you can see, Salesforce is giving you options. If I want to check if the string has space, contains white space, if I want to check If it matches something, count matches. So there's so many things you can do with a string, okay? But there's also ends with. If I want to check if the string ends with JSON, I just use ends with. If I want to check, look at, there is literally all methods on a string, okay? So if you want to check if a string is empty, this is what to do. String dot is empty. That's the method I was looking for. String dot is empty. So if string dot is empty, what? The component. So if you want to, you can declare component earlier like this, okay? So if it's empty, what do you need to do? You need to replace it with not applicable. So you want to say the lead component is not applicable. Okay? So you have catered for instance where the lead component is not present in the lead objects. So at the end of the day, what are you doing? Create or updating a lead. So you want to abstract the lead objects. That's all. You have literally created a method that creates a new lead and abstracts a new lead. So let's walk through this method again. Develop a method that creates or updates a new lead into the system. This is it, the method. Check for duplicates, leads before carrying out the insert. How do you check for duplicates? You query all the lead in the system where email equals lead email. And what is lead email? The lead email is the lead object.email. Okay? Use not applicable for company if no company name exists in the lead data. If string dot is empty lead company, then say the company is not applicable. But we definitely know that if the lead is not empty, there will always be a company because you cannot create a new lead without a company. Okay? Now, after creating this method, there are still some things we need to do. Do not roll back, meaning that if you're collecting a list of lead instead of lead objects, if you're collecting a list of lead. So guys, don't get confused when I use lead object. It's the same thing as saying new lead. Okay? So it doesn't have to be lead object. It can just be new lead, okay? It's still the same thing. So don't get confused with my syntax, my naming convention. Anytime you have a simple lead like this, you call it an instance of a lead. Anytime you have a list, you call it list of a lead. So what I typically do is list lead is the same thing as saying list of leads, okay? Of lead like this, okay? And for lead objects, it's the same thing as just saying new lead, okay? So that's just what it means. So when you're using list, it's always a convention that you specify list in front. And this one, you just put lead object. It's just a way to name things when you're at work, okay? So now, going back to our method, we have created a simple method that creates or updates a new lead, okay? So now let's test our method. I go to debug. So I want to call this method. Okay, I'll copy it like this. That's the method I want to call. How can I call it? lead utility. Okay, lead utility dot create or update lead. What do I need to pass into this? I need to pass new lead. New lead is what my method is required. How do I create new lead? New lead. Okay. So new lead dot first name new lead dot last name new lead without a company. Okay, I'm not going to put company there, and I want to see how my method will operate. I have just created a new lead with the first name and last name. Execute. That's it. If I go to the new to the lead, this is the lead I have just no, that's not the lead. Okay, let's go to what's today's date? Let me look at my error log. So DML, one DML statement, okay? Let's see what happened. Create lead, that's fine. Select lead. Lead company, no. First name, last name. Okay, so now it's saying lead company, lead email is null, okay? I cannot create a new lead. I don't think I can create a lead without email. Let me see. Lead, new. Oh, email is not compulsory. Let me test again, okay? And let me debug. So I go to my debug and I what's okay is a void this thing. So I don't get any response. So I cannot get a response. But let me see variation, okay? Let me just add this. Create new lead. The good thing is I can put a debug here, okay? System.debug. I am in insert new lead. This is how you know how to figure out where you are in your code. So if you get lost, you want to find out where you're getting lost. Okay? You want to find out where in the code you're getting lost. I am in update lead, existing lead. Okay? So now I have this utility. I'm going to debug again to find out where in the code I'm getting lost. Execute. Open my debug. I am in updating existing lead, okay? It says is updating the existing lead. But does that mean where lead, but lead email is null? So let me now explain to you what's happening. The lead email is null. Okay? The lead email is null. And if you look at our code, it says select ID from lead, where email is lead email. And the lead email is null, meaning that if I go to my leads, if I go to all my leads, I don't know if they're open up, and I look for instances where lead email is null. Lead email is null. It's going to query all the leads and look for where email is null. And it's going to manipulate that lead. Okay? So what happened is it's giving me all instances where the lead email is null, and it is grabbing the first element to update that. But that's not what I want. Okay? So for this to really work, I would need to specify my email. So now I run this again. So let's see what is happening. I am inserting new lead. Okay, as you can see, it's no longer updating, but it is inserting. Let's refresh this. And I'll be able to see not applicable, and I'll be able to see my email. Okay, so now we've inserted, and we know definitely the lead is in the system. Let's run the code again. Expectation right now is to update because the email exists in the system. I am in updating existing lead. As you can see, it is no longer inserting, but updating. This is how to create a simple function. Or you just need to tell your, maybe if you're working in an environment, a group of developers, you just tell your other developer that use this utility. It will help you create or update a lead. And all you need to do is pass the lead information into the utility. Okay? This is how to simplify code. I have moved a complex insert query, update query like this into a simple function called create or update lead. Anytime, anywhere, because this method is public, anytime, anywhere in the entire Salesforce org, anyone can just call this utility and pass this lead inside this utility, and they can create or update a new lead. You can do this for any objects. But remember, we're just getting started. This is just for insert. What if you have relationships? You have different master detail relationship, parent-child relationship. We're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to start developing application, subscription system. I want a student to come into the Salesforce org. They can only subscribe to one program, or they can only subscribe to one program if it is professional, or subscribe to many programs if it is standard. And they can only have one subscription active at a time. This is conditions, so many conditions. So when you see Blackforce website, all you need to see is conditions. So when you say, I cannot see my learning, just know there are a bunch of conditions and logic that has gone into the process. This is what it means to be a developer, being able to think. And guess what? As an aspiring architect, you don't need to know how to code, but you need to be able to think. So if you're aspiring to become a solution architect within the Salesforce ecosystem, all this might not really appeal to you. However, you need to know the basics. For instance, should I be creating utility, or should I be carrying out all the transaction inside this place? The data type to use. What happens if component is not present? That's how you architect a solution. Okay, so we're going to stop here for tonight. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hand so I can address them. Otherwise, we're going to stop, and tomorrow we're going to look into relationship, and we're going to start Apex Trigger. Apex Trigger is similar to the Apex you've learned, aside the fact that you are now triggering. For instance, when you use Process Builder, the entry criteria is when you create or edit. When you use Workflow, the entry criteria is when you create, edit, or update and subsequently meet criteria. In Flow, you have auto launch, create and edit, and the likes. Apex Trigger is the equivalent of those things. You will see how to use Apex Trigger, how to manipulate data, how to use control statements to get the things you want. Okay, we're stopping here today, but I have 1 or 2 questions I will answer, then we can stop. Itwen, unmute yourself, please, and speak. Itwen, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, Babatope. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, actually, my question is not really related to the current topics. It's regards to the app builder. So I don't know if you can put back the quizzes, because personally I haven't taken it, and a couple of my group members, they have not also taken the quizzes. So I didn't get the email you sent because I was speaking with the group leader. He said he sent